My wife died, so you will take her place. In the nursery and in my bedroom. The words hung in the sterile, overcooled air of the private hospital office, heavy and suffocating. Aisha stared at the man sitting behind the mahogany desk. Han was terrifyingly beautiful, like a blade forged from dark steel, sharp, cold, and capable of cutting without effort. He did not blink. He did not fidget. He simply watched her with eyes that looked like shattered obsidian. In the background, the sound of a baby screaming echoed from the adjacent room. It was a raw, jagged sound that had been tearing through the VIP wing for 3 hours. I do not understand, Aisha stammered, clutching her clipboard to her chest like a shield. Mr. Han, I am just a night shift nurse. I was only called in because the agency nanny quit. I settled your son for 20 minutes. That's all. Leo has not stopped crying for 3 weeks, Han said, his voice a low, smooth baritone that vibrated with suppressed violence. Not since Elena died. Dozens of specialists. 5 nannies. Nothing worked. Until you walked in, hummed that song, and put a hand on his chest. He slept. For the first time, he slept. He stood up, and the room seemed to shrink. He was tall, imposing, wearing a charcoal suit that cost more than Aisha would earn in a decade. He walked around the desk, stopping inches from her. She could smell him, expensive scotch, gunpowder, and ice. My son needs a mother. He chose you. You see, not just by a mother, Aisha whispered, backing away until her spine hit the doorframe. I have a life. I have plans. My visa is up for renewal next month. I need to focus on my application. I see, not just, your visa application was rejected this morning, Han interrupted. Aisha froze. What? Han pulled a folded document from his inside pocket and dropped it onto the desk. Administrative error, they say. But the deportation order is already being processed. You have 48 hours before you are put on a plane back to a war zone you spent 10 years escaping. Unless. The blood drained from Aisha's face. She looked at the paper. It was real. The seal of the Department of Immigration stared back at her like a death sentence. Unless what? She choked out. Unless you marry me. Han did not smile. It was not a proposal, it was a transaction. Marrying a citizen grants you immediate status. I have lawyers who can expedite the paperwork by sunrise. You get safety, citizenship, and a life of unlimited wealth. I get a woman who can keep my heir alive and maintain the image of a stable household. You did this, she realized, horror dawning on her. You sabotaged my application. I removed an obstacle, he corrected, his face devoid of guilt. Does it matter? The outcome is the same. Walk out that door, and you lose everything. Stay, and you belong to me. The scream from the next room spiked, turning into a choking, desperate cough. Aisha's instincts flared. She hated this man. She hated his arrogance, his cruelty, his manipulation. But the sound of that baby, innocent, grieving, and starving for comfort, tugged at something visceral in her chest. I am not a prostitute, she said, her voice trembling. And I am not your late wife. No, Han stepped closer, his hand reaching out to tilt her chin up. His touch was electric and terrifying. Elena was weak. She died giving me a son. You will be strong. You will be the perfect mother. You will be the perfect wife in public. And at night, you will sleep in my bed. Why, she breathed. If it's just for the baby, why your bed? Because in my world, appearances are armor. If my enemies think I am grieving, they strike. If they see a new, beautiful wife in my bed, they see strength. His thumb brushed her lower lip, not with affection, but with possessiveness. And because I need to know where you are every second of the night. I do not trust you, Aisha. I just need you. He leaned down, his lips brushing her ear. Choose. The plane ride to hell, or the ring. Aisha looked at the deportation order. Then she looked toward the nursery door where Leo was gasping for air between sobs. She was trapped. A cage of poverty and war, or a cage of gold and a monster. I'll do it, she whispered, tears stinging her eyes. Han pulled back. He did not look relieved. He looked triumphant. Good. The car is waiting. We have a wedding to attend. The penthouse was not a home, it was a mausoleum of glass and marble floating above the city skyline. It was beautiful, cold, and utterly silent, save for the soft humming Aisha did to keep Leo calm. 3 weeks had passed since the signature on the marriage license had dried. 3 weeks of hell disguised as paradise. Aisha adjusted the silk robe Han had forced her to wear, he burned her old cotton pajamas the first night, and walked into the master bedroom. It was cavernous, dominated by a king-sized bed with black sheets. Han was already there, sitting on the edge of the mattress, reading a dossier. He was shirtless. The scars on his back told stories of knife fights and bullets, a map of violence that terrified her. "You late," he said without turning around. Leo was fussy. "He's teething," Aisha replied, keeping her voice neutral. She learned quickly that emotion only annoyed him. "He is sleeping now." "Yes." "Then get in bed." It was the same ritual every night. She would climb into the left side of the bed, pulling the duvet up to her chin. He would turn off the light and lie beside her. He never touched her. He never tried to initiate intimacy. He simply lay there, a rigid, hot presence in the darkness, radiating menace. It was psychological warfare. He wanted her to know that he could touch her if he wanted to, but he chose not to because she was beneath him. She was a utility, not a desire. "We have the gala tomorrow night," Han's voice cut through the dark. "The Petrov family will be there. They are looking for weakness." "I know what to do," Aisha said into her pillow. "Smile. Hold your arm. Pretend I adore you. Pretend you are not counting the days until you can steal my money and run," he countered coldly. Aisha sat up, the injustice burning her throat. "I do not want your money, Han. I take care of your son. I have not spent a dime on myself. You are a desperate immigrant who was cornered into a marriage," Han sneered, sitting up as well. His eyes adjusted to the dark, gleaming. "Everyone has a price. I'm just waiting to see yours. Is it jewelry? A house for your parents? Or are you playing the long game? Waiting for me to die so you can inherit the empire?" "You paranoid," she spat. "I am alive," he corrected. "Paranoia keeps me breathing. And you are too good with Leo. It's suspicious. No one loves another man's child that quickly unless they have an agenda." He did not wait for her response. He rolled over, turning his back to her. The wall of muscle was a barrier she could not cross. The next evening, the fall happened. The gala was a sea of diamonds and sharks. Aisha stood by Han's side in a red velvet gown that clung to her curves, looking every bit the mob boss's wife. She played her part perfectly, charming the wives of rival cartel leaders, speaking softly, deferring to Han. Then, she made a mistake. A waiter dropped a tray of champagne near them. Instinctively, Aisha knelt to help him pick up the glass shards. It was a reflex of her nature, she was a nurse, a healer, a helper. "Get up," Han's voice was a whip crack. The entire ballroom went silent. Aisha looked up, holding a piece of broken glass. Han stood over her, his face twisted in fury. "You are Mrs. Han," he hissed, loud enough for the circle of men around them to hear. "You do not kneel for servants. You do not clean floors." He was just, "Stand up," he roared. He grabbed her arm, hauling her to her feet with enough force to leave bruises. "Stop acting like the help. You are embarrassing me." He dragged her close, his grip painful. "Go to the car. Now. You are done for the night." Aisha pulled her arm back, tears of humiliation burning her eyes as the room whispered and stared. She turned and fled, the sound of her heels clicking on the marble echoing like gunshots. Back at the penthouse, the atmosphere was poisonous. Han did not speak to her for 2 days. He locked himself in his study. The isolation was worse than the yelling. She felt like an object that had malfunctioned and was now being discarded. On the 3rd night, she was in the nursery, rocking Leo. The baby looked up at her with Han's dark eyes, but full of innocence instead of malice. I see A not do this, Leo, she whispered to the infant. He hates me. He thinks I'm a monster like the ones he deals with. The door slammed open. Han stood there, holding a piece of paper. He looked deranged. What is this? He demanded, shaking the paper. It was a brochure for a Swiss boarding school. I found it in the mail pile, Aisha said, clutching Leo tighter. I was just looking at the pictures. You are planning to send him away, Han accused, his voice shaking with a terrifying quietness. You want to ship my son to a boarding school so you can have the penthouse to yourself. So you can play the grieving widow without the burden of the child. No. He's a baby. I was just sorting the mail. Liar. Han advanced on her. You are just like them. Cold. Selfish. Calculated. I should have let them deport you. At least then my son would be safe from your poison. He snatched the baby from her arms. Leo immediately began to wail. Get out of my sight, Han commanded, bouncing the screaming infant with stiff, angry motions. Go to your room and lock the door. If I see you before morning, I will throw you off the balcony myself. Aisha ran. She locked herself in the master bedroom, sliding down against the heavy wood, sobbing until her chest ached. She had tried everything. She had given him her body, her freedom, her dignity. And he still saw her as the enemy. She fell asleep on the floor, exhausted, wishing the deportation plane had taken her instead. The sound was not a scream. It was an explosion. Aisha woke with a jolt, the floor vibrating beneath her cheek. The digital clock read 3:14 a.m. Before she could process the noise, the alarm system began to shriek, a high-pitched, deafening wail. Gunfire erupted. Not distant, cinematic pops, but the thunderous, terrifying boom of automatic weapons right outside the bedroom door. The hallway was a war zone. Han, she screamed, scrambling to her feet. She threw open the bedroom door. Smoke filled the corridor. Two of Han's bodyguards lay dead near the elevator. Men in black tactical gear and ski masks were swarming the landing. Han was nowhere to be seen. Leo. The thought was a lightning bolt that cleared her panic. The nursery was on the other side of the penthouse, past the chaos. Aisha did not think. She did not run for the panic room in the master closet. She did not hide under the bed. She kicked off her heels and sprinted into the smoke. There's the wife, a voice shouted. Bullets chewed up the drywall inches from her head. She ducked, sliding across the polished floor, scrambling on hands and knees behind a marble pillar. Han, she screamed again, desperate. From the west wing, she heard a roar of rage. Han emerged from the shadows like a demon, dual pistols flashing. He dropped 3 invaders in 2 seconds, moving with a fluid, terrifying grace. He saw her. For a split second, their eyes locked across the burning living room. Run, he bellowed. Get out. The elevator. He thought she was trying to escape. He thought she was saving herself. Aisha ignored him. She turned and ran the opposite direction, toward the nursery. No. You stupid woman. Han shouted, but he was cut off by a fresh wave of attackers. Aisha reached the nursery door. It was locked from the inside, the automatic security protocol. She punched in the code, her fingers trembling so hard she missed the first time. Beep. 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 Click. She threw herself inside just as a grenade detonated in the hallway. The shockwave slammed the door shut behind her, blowing out the lights. Silence returned, ringing in her ears. Leo, she whispered in the darkness. A soft whimper from the crib. He was alive. Aisha grabbed him, pulling him from the crib. She knew the door would not hold. The attackers were coming to wipe out the bloodline. She dragged a heavy dresser in front of the door, then grabbed the armchair, piling everything she could find. It was not enough. She heard heavy boots outside. The handle rattled. Then, gunfire began to shred the door. Aisha retreated to the farthest corner of the room. There was nowhere to hide. She sat on the floor, curling her body around the infant. She tucked Leo's head under her chin, wrapping her arms and legs around him, creating a human shield. "It's okay," she whispered, tears streaming down her face, humming the lullaby that had saved him weeks ago. "Mama is here. Mama has you." The door burst open. Han moved through the smoke like the Grim Reaper. He had killed every man in the hallway. His suit was shredded, blood, mostly not his, soaked his shirt. "Aisha," he roared. He expected to find the elevator shaft empty. He expected to find the master bedroom panic room locked with her inside, cowering with her jewelry. But the hallway to the nursery was riddled with bullet holes. His heart stopped. A cold, paralyzed feeling seized his chest. He kicked the remnants of the nursery door aside, stepping over the body of a hitman he had just shot through the wall. The room was dark, illuminated only by the fires burning in the city below through the window. Aisha. He saw a pile of furniture. And behind it, in the corner, a huddled shape. She had not run. She had not hidden in the panic room. Han dropped his guns. He fell to his knees and crawled toward her. Aisha. She did not move. She was curled tight, a ball of tension. Is he okay?" she rasped. Her voice was weak, wet. Han reached out, his hands shaking. He pulled her shoulders back. Leo was crying softly, completely unharmed, cocooned in her embrace. But Aisha's white silk robe was crimson. "You re-hit," Han choked out. "They shot through the door," she whispered, her eyes losing focus. "I did not let go, Han. I did not let go." Han pressed his hands against the wound in her side, the hot blood seeping through his fingers. Panic, real and terrifying, clawed at his throat. "Medic," he screamed, a sound that tore his vocal cords. "Get the medic in here now." He tried to lift her, and a folded piece of paper fell from the pocket of her robe. It was stained with blood, but the bold header was visible in the moonlight. "Waiver of spousal inheritance and assets." Han froze. He recognized the legal jargon. It was a document drafted by a lawyer, signed and notarized 3 weeks ago. "What is this?" he whispered. In case you kicked me out," Aisha mumbled, her head lolling against his chest. "I wanted you to know. I did not want the money. I just wanted to keep Leo safe. I signed it all away, the day we married." Han stared at the paper, then at the dying woman in his arms. The truth hit him like a physical blow, shattering his paranoia, his arrogance, and his world. She had signed away billions. She had stayed when the gun started firing. She had used her body as a shield for a child that was not hers. She was not a gold digger. She was the only pure thing in his entire wretched life. "Stay with me," Han begged, tears mixing with the blood on his face. "Aisha, please. I command you. Stay." You see not command, everything," she smiled faintly, and her eyes rolled back. The steady beep, beep, beep of the heart monitor was the only sound Han had heard for 4 days. He sat in the chair beside the hospital bed, unshaven, still wearing the blood-stained trousers from the night of the attack. He refused to leave. He refused to sleep. Aisha lay pale against the white sheets. The surgery had been long. The bullet had missed her spine by millimeters, but she had lost a lot of blood. Han watched her chest rise and fall. Every breath she took felt like a mercy he did not deserve. His eyes drifted to the bedside table. The blood-stained waiver lay there. He had read it 1,000 times. It was a testament to his own stupidity. He had spent weeks torturing a woman who was protecting his legacy with her life. Her eyelashes fluttered. Han leaned forward, his breath hitching. Aisha. Her eyes opened slowly. Brown, warm, confused. She blinked, focusing on his face. She flinched slightly, an instinctive reaction that drove a knife into Han's heart. "Leo," she croaked. "He is fine," Han said quickly, his voice hoarse. "He is with the nurses in the next room. Not a scratch. Because of you." Aisha exhaled, her body relaxing into the mattress. "Good. That's good." She looked at the ceiling, avoiding his gaze. So, when do I leave? Did the deportation order get cancelled? Aisha, Han said softly. I know I breached the contract, she rambled, her voice fragile. I embarrassed you at the gala. I caused trouble. I assume, now that the attack is over, you want me gone. Han stood up. He took the waiver from the table and held it up. You signed this, he said. Yes, she whispered. So you know I would not take anything. You can just annul the marriage. I would not fight you. Han ripped the paper in half. Then in quarters. He let the pieces flutter to the floor like snow. Han. He took her hand. It was the first time he had touched her with gentleness. He brought her knuckles to his lips, pressing a kiss there that was a prayer. I am a fool, Han said, his voice breaking. I built a fortress to keep enemies out, and I locked an angel in a dungeon. I thought everyone wanted to take from me. I never imagined someone would only want to give. He looked into her eyes, stripping away the mask of the crime lord. The contract is void, he said. You are free. I have already filed the paperwork for your permanent citizenship, independent of me. I wired $5 million to an account in your name. You can go anywhere. You can leave me. You can escape this dangerous, violent life. Aisha stared at him. She saw the exhaustion in his eyes, the raw regret. She saw the men beneath the monster. You are sending me away, she asked. I am setting you free, Han corrected. Because I do not deserve you. And I cannot risk you getting hurt again. And Leo. Han flinched. Leo he will miss you. But he will be alive. Aisha pulled her hand back slowly. She tried to sit up, wincing at the pain in her side. Han immediately moved to help her, adjusting the pillows with frantic care. You are an idiot, Han, she said softly. He froze. Excuse me. You think money fixes everything, she said, her voice gaining strength. You threatened me with deportation to make me stay. Now you threaten me with $5 million to make me leave. She reached out and took his rough, scarred hand again. I did not jump in front of a bullet for a paycheck. And I did not stay in that nursery because of a contract. Then why? Han whispered. Why did you save him? Why did you save us? Because you are a terrible cook, and Leo needs a mother, she smiled, tears shining in her eyes. And because, underneath all that armor, I think you are just a terrified father who needs to be loved, too. Han fell to his knees beside the bed. He buried his face in her palm, his shoulders shaking. The great, terrifying Han, who made empires crumble, wept at the feet of the nurse who had conquered him without firing a shot. I will spend the rest of my life earning this, he vowed, his voice muffled against her skin. I will burn the world down before I let anyone touch you again. Not as a possession. But as my queen. Aisha stroked his hair, the ghost of the lullaby humming in her throat. Start by getting in the bed, she whispered. And this time, you do not have to stay on your side. Han looked up, worship in his eyes. He realized then that she had not just replaced his wife. She had not just saved his son. She had resurrected him. Yes, my love, he said. Whatever you want.